My mom posted, "Disappointed in my son. He refused to pay for his niece's Sweet 16. She didn't mention the Sweet 16 budget was $17,000 or that she'd never helped with my kids' birthdays. I replied, "Here's why," with receipts showing $140,000 had sent her over 10 years. Her best friend commented, "This isn't what you told us." By evening, the post was deleted, and I had... My mom's Facebook post found me in the soundstage break room, between setups, staring at a monitor where a stunt car exploded on loop. Disappointed in my son, he refused to pay for his niece's Sweet 16. It was the caption that did it. There was a photo of my niece, Lily, in a sparkly pink dress, twirling in front of a banquet hall. Balloons, string lights, a rented arch, and right under that my mom's words for the entire family, church friends, and every old neighbor to see. He makes Hollywood money directing commercials and still said no. Some people forget where they come from. I didn't even know she'd taken that photo. I stared at my phone, then at the craft services table. Someone laughed in the hallway. On the monitor, the car exploded again. For a second, it was like I was watching two different screens at once, the one in front of me and the one I'd been living in for 10 years. I scrolled down. There were already comments. "I'm so sorry, Cindy, you deserve better." Some people accuse me of being ungrateful. "Ugh, that's awful after everything you've done for him." I swallowed hard. Everything she'd done for me. No one mentioned the part where the Sweet 16 budget was $17,000, or the part where she'd never once helped with my kids' birthdays, or the part where I'd been quietly sending her money for a decade like it was a second mortgage. I checked the time. I had 10 minutes before we rolled again. I opened my banking app instead of closing Facebook. The numbers were already there because I'd kept the receipts. Not for leverage, not for revenge, just because I'm a director, and directors track continuity. We remember where everything goes. 10 years, $140,000. Rent when she couldn't cover the month, the new roof after the last storm, the $6,500 emergency credit card bill, the unexpected dental work, the help with your sister's tuition that turned into a fully paid semester, the just until the disability check comes, that somehow never stopped. I'd been telling myself it was fine. I could afford it. I owed her for those years she worked 2 jobs when I was a kid, for the nights she fell asleep at the kitchen table with her shoes still on. And then she'd taken my no for one overpriced party and turned it into a public character assassination. My thumb hovered over the comment box for a long time. I heard my assistant director shout from down the hall, "Matt, 5 minutes." I typed one sentence, then deleted it. Typed another, deleted it. The old version of me would have stayed silent, swallowed it, and pretended I didn't see the post. Let Mom control the narrative, like always. But I was tired of letting people cut their own movie out of my life and then yelling at me when I didn't like the ending. So I took a breath, opened a new note, and started typing what I knew. Not a speech, not an attack, just the truth, with dates and amounts. Because if she wanted to tell a story, I was finally going to give them the full script. My name is Matthew. I'm 38, and I direct commercials, mid-budget streaming movies, and the occasional music video when I need to remind myself why I ever loved cameras in the first place. People hear director, and they picture red carpets and private jets. They don't picture 18-hour days, 3 months without a day off, arguing with executives about why the dog in the detergent ad shouldn't talk. My mom, though, she only heard one thing. My son has money now. Growing up, we didn't have much. She liked to tell everyone, we didn't have extra, but we had love. We also had shut-off notices and dinners that were just rice with butter. But yeah, there was love. I'll never deny that. She worked hard. She was tired. She did what she could. My dad left when I was 10. After that, it was just Mom, me, and my little sister, Rachel.
Rachel was the delicate one. Artistic, Mom said. Sensitive. Somewhere along the line that turned into Matthew can handle it. Rachel needs more help. When I got my first real directing paycheck at 28, I bought Mom a new fridge because the old one made a noise like a dying animal. She cried, hugged me, and told everyone at church how proud she was. The second paycheck paid off her car. The third helped Rachel cover a surprise rent increase. After that, the asks got easier. Casual. "Baby, can you help me just this once with the electricity? I'm short this month." "Sweetheart, your sister's car broke down again. She can't lose this job." "I know you're busy, but the roof is leaking. They said it's dangerous to leave it." Sometimes she didn't even ask. She just started the story and waited for me to fill in the ending. And I did. Because I remembered her keeping the lights on with tips from the diner. Because I remembered her hands smelling like bleach after cleaning houses. Because I felt guilty that I'd gotten out and they were still there. Over time, helping turned into a pattern. I didn't notice it, like you don't notice a slow zoom until suddenly the camera's in your face. When I met my wife, Jess, we sat down with my laptop one night and added it up. She's an editor, which means she lives for timelines and numbers and finding the hidden story in the mess. "Matt," she said softly, tapping the screen, "do you realize how much this is?" I stared. In just 3 years, $38,000. "Yeah, but that's roof stuff and emergencies and Rachel's new car," Jess said gently, "and the tuition you covered when she wanted to go back to school, and that girls' trip Mom took. Remember that?" I did remember. Mom texted me a photo from a beach and captioned it, "Finally taking care of myself for once." "It's fine," I said. "I can afford it. They need it more." Jess looked at me for a long second, then nodded slowly. "Okay, but can we at least set a budget so you're not just sending money every time your phone buzzes?" We tried. Every year it crept up anyway. Mom never missed Rachel's milestones. Rachel's baby shower was a full catered event with a chocolate fountain. Her son's first birthday had a clown and a bounce house in the backyard. For my son's first birthday, Mom forgot to call until the next day. "Oh, honey, I was so tired. You know how it is. Give him a kiss from Grandma, okay?" Jess squeezed my hand that night in bed. "Doesn't that bother you?" I stared at the ceiling. "It's just who she is," I said. "It's fine." I said "it's fine" so many times that the words stopped sounding like anything. By the time Lily's 16th birthday started looming, I'd been helping for almost a decade. My son, Owen, was 6. My daughter, Zoe, was 4. They'd had backyard birthdays with homemade cakes, pizza on paper plates, and friends from preschool. They were happy, sticky-faced, loud. One Sunday dinner at Mom's house, Rachel pushed back from the table with a sigh. "I just want Lily to have something special," she said, scrolling on her phone. "Like one of those parties you see on TV. She's such a good kid. She deserves it." Mom nodded immediately. "My granddaughter's only turned 16 once. She should feel like a princess." I took a sip of water, already feeling my stomach tighten. "What are you thinking?" I asked. Rachel brightened. "Okay, so I found this venue that does this all-inclusive package. DJ, photo booth, dessert bar, the works. It's like really classy, not cheesy at all." Jess, across the table, raised an eyebrow. "Sounds big," she said, choosing her words carefully. Rachel turned the phone toward me, showing glossy photos of teenagers under chandeliers. Underneath the pictures, my brain zeroed in on the number, $17,000. I blinked. "That's the total?"
Rachel hesitated. "Yeah, but that's with everything included. And I mean, it's her sweet 16. You only get one, right?" Mom jumped in before I could say anything. "And your brother's going to help, aren't you, baby?" She smiled at me like she was offering me a chance to be heroic. Jess's foot found mine under the table. "Mom," I said slowly, "that's a lot of money for a birthday party." "It's not just a party," Mom said. "It's a memory, and you can afford it. You're directing that series now, right?"
That series, the one that had me away from home 3 weeks in a row, missing bedtime kisses so I could spend the days telling actors to walk back and hit their mark again and again. I can't pay $17,000 for a party, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. Rachel's face tightened. No one said you had to pay all of it. We were thinking maybe you cover half, Mom covers some, and we'll put the rest on a card and figure it out. I don't have that kind of money lying around, Mom added quickly, as if the idea that she'd pay more than a token amount was absurd. You know my checks barely cover my bills. Jess spoke up softly. We also have our own kids' birthdays coming up, and we're still paying off the last time you helped with the roof, remember? Silence. Rachel's eyes filled with tears instantly, like she'd been waiting for a reason. I should have known, she said. I should have known it was too much to ask. It's fine. I'll just tell Lily we can't do anything nice because her uncle thinks her dreams are too expensive. That's not what I said, I replied, heat finally creeping into my voice. $17,000 is too much for a single night. I am not a bank. Mom shook her head, disappointed. That look, the one that used to destroy me when I was 10. I didn't raise you to say no to family, Matthew, she said. We all helped each other when we could. Family is supposed to show up. Jess's jaw tightened. I knew she was thinking of the spreadsheets on my laptop. Okay, I said, putting my hands flat on the table. Let's be clear. Over the last 10 years, I have sent you. Don't start counting. That's ugly. Money shouldn't be thrown in people's faces. Yeah, you chose to help. No one forced you. I felt something settle inside me. You're right. No one forced me, and I'm choosing not to pay for a $17,000 Sweet 16. The rest of the dinner was dead quiet. We ate in small, stiff bites. On the drive home, Jess didn't say I told you so. She just put her hand on my arm at a red light. I'm proud of you, she said. I didn't feel proud. I felt like I'd just broken something fragile and precious. Mom didn't text me for a week after that. When she finally did, it was short. I'm very disappointed in you, Matthew. I never thought you'd turn your back on family like this. I typed a reply 3 times and never sent it. Then, 2 weeks later, the Facebook post appeared. Back in the break room, I copied Mom's post into my Notes app so I could see it without the comments screaming underneath it. I thought about Owen and Zoe, about all the times they'd seen me duck into the hallway to take yet another call from Grandma, come back with a tight smile and tell Jess, "It's okay, I'll handle it." What was I teaching them? That you let people rewrite your story as long as they're your parents? That if someone gave you life, they get to spend the rest of it spending yours? No. I opened a new document and started typing. Line by line, year by year. March 2016, $1,200. Rent support. July 2016, $2,500. Rachel's car repair. October 2017, $6,500. Mom's credit card. Emergency. January 2018, $4,000. Rachel's tuition. 10 minutes later, I had 2 full pages. I rounded the totals when I needed to, but the bank records were exact. $140,000.
I added one more line. Total over 10 years, $140,000 in voluntary support, no repayment requested. Then I went back to Facebook. My fingers shook, but not with anger, with adrenaline, with the feeling you get on a set right before the first take when everyone is holding their breath. I clicked comment under her post. Mom, I love you, and I'm sad you chose to share this here without the full context. I said no to paying $17,000 for a single birthday party because I've already sent you and Rachel approximately $140,000 over the last 10 years for rent, repairs, bills, tuition, and emergencies, all happily and without asking for anything back. You've also chosen not to attend several of Owen and Zoe's birthdays and haven't contributed to their celebrations. That was your choice, and I respected it. I'm not turning my back on family. I'm setting a boundary after a decade of financial support that I never advertised to anyone. I won't discuss this further in the comments, but I won't let people think I just walked away out of greed either. I attached a screenshot collage, cropped carefully so no account numbers or full names showed, of the list I'd just made, just the dates and amounts with Mom or Rachel as they appeared in my banking app. Facts, not insults. I read it 3 times before hitting post. My heart pounded like I was watching a crane shot we only had one chance to get right. It took less than a minute for the first reply to appear. "Cindy, is this true?" from one of Mom's church friends. Then another, "Wait, you said he never helps you. I'm confused," from her neighbor. Then a third, "This isn't what you told us," from her best friend Linda, the one who used to pinch my cheek when I was 6. I stared at that last one for a long time. "This isn't what you told us." There it was, the cut. For years, Mom had been telling a version of the story where I was the selfish son in the big city who forgot where he came from. Now, for the first time, someone else was seeing the dailies. My phone buzzed nonstop. Mom called 3 times. I let it ring. Rachel sent a long text that started with, "How could you?" and ended with, "You've humiliated Mom in front of everyone." I typed back, "I didn't list everything. I didn't call you names. I only corrected the part where I supposedly never help. I'm open to talking about this privately when everyone's calmed down, but I'm done being silently blamed." She didn't answer. By the time we wrapped the day's shoot and I finally got back to my car, the post was gone, deleted. In its place, on Mom's profile, was a generic quote about keeping family business private. I sat in the driver's seat, my phone in my hand, and exhaled a breath I felt like I'd been holding for 10 years. By evening, the post was deleted and I had... what? I looked at my screen. 3 missed calls from Mom, 5 from Rachel, 1 from my aunt, which I ignored, and on top of that, 2 texts from Linda. "Matthew, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. Your mom always said you left her to struggle alone. I won't speak for her, but I see you differently now." And then, "For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Boundaries aren't betrayal." I stared at that second message until my vision blurred. Boundaries aren't betrayal.
No one had ever said that to me before. That night, after the kids were in bed and the dishwasher hummed in the background, Jess and I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop open between us. "Okay," she said, pushing her hair back. "We need to decide what happens next." We'd done this 100 times in fictional worlds, plotting out character arcs, deciding where the story should land. Now it was my turn. "Next?" I echoed. Jess nodded. "You held up a mirror. You didn't scream, you didn't insult anyone, you just told the truth. Now Mom is embarrassed and so is Rachel. They're going to want to make this your fault. We need to know where your line is." I looked at the columns of numbers again. "Do you think I was too harsh?" I asked quietly. Jess shook her head. "I think you were factual, and I think it's the first time in 10 years you've defended yourself instead of just absorbing everyone else's narrative." She clicked open a new spreadsheet. "Here's what I'm thinking," she said. "You've been sending, on average, $14,000 a year. That's more than some people's entire savings. What if, from now on, we put that number somewhere else?" "Like where?" I asked. Jess smiled softly. "Our kids," she said. "College fund, therapy fund, emergency fund, literally any fund that isn't Mom's latest crisis." I laughed once, a short surprise sound. "And what if Mom has a real emergency?" I asked. "Like hospital bills or—" "Then we give what we can without destabilizing us," Jess said. "But no more ongoing support, no more last-minute transfers because she forgot to budget. And if it is a real emergency, not a vacation, we ask for documentation like we would for anyone else. That's not cruel, that's responsible." I thought about Mom's voice over the years. "You know I hate all this online banking stuff. I can't keep track. Don't treat me like a stranger. I'm your mother. You're making me feel like a beggar." "I hate that it's come to this," I said. Jess reached across the table and took my hand. "I know," she said, but this has already been happening. You're just choosing to see it now." We sat in silence for a moment. "Okay," I finally said. "No more regular transfers. If she asks, I'll tell her we're focusing on savings for the kids and our own future. If there's a genuine emergency, we'll look at it once, like grown-ups, not as her automatic safety net." Jess squeezed my hand once and nodded. "Are you ready for the fallout?" "I'm tired of living in a movie someone else wrote. So yeah, I think I am." Mom didn't call again for 3 days. When she finally did, I answered. The first 10 minutes were exactly what I expected. "How dare you air our dirty laundry in public? You made me look like a liar. Everyone is texting me. I'm humiliated." I listened, then said quietly, "Mom, you weren't honest." She went silent. "You told people I refused to help you. You told me I make Hollywood money and leave you to struggle. You left out 10 years and $140,000. "It wasn't like that," she said stiffly. "You know I appreciated it." "Then why didn't you say that? Why wasn't the post, 'My son has supported me for a decade, but he said no to this one thing and I'm hurt,' because that would have been true. Instead, you made me the villain." I heard her breathing on the other end. For a second, I thought she might apologize. She didn't. "I was just venting," she muttered. "You didn't have to slap me in the face with numbers like that. You know how that looks." "It looks like reality, and I'm done pretending otherwise." She sniffed. "So what? Now you're cutting us off? Is that it? You'll see how it feels when you need help one day and nobody's there for you." "I'm not cutting you off from my life. I'm putting a pause on sending money every time there's a problem. Jess and I have kids. We have a mortgage. We have our own future to save for. That's what adults do."
"So you're choosing money over family," she said, the oldest line in her script. "I'm choosing to stop being the only adult in this family when it comes to money," I said, more gently than I felt. "You're capable of budgeting. Rachel is capable of finding a party option that doesn't cost more than some people's cars." She scoffed. "You'll never understand what it's like down here in the real world." I stared at the fridge, covered in my kids' drawings. "I grew up in that same house," I said. "I do understand. That's why I've been helping. But endless sacrifice doesn't make me a better son. It just makes me broke and resentful." There was a long pause. "I can't talk to you when you're like this," she said finally. "You're so cold." "I'm not cold," I said quietly. "I'm clear. There's a difference." She hung up without saying goodbye. I stared at my reflection in the dark microwave door. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I needed to call back and fix it. Lily still had her Sweet 16. From what I saw on social media, they found a cheaper venue, skipped the dessert bar, and had a cousin DJ instead of hiring a professional. She looked happy. Her dress sparkled, there were streamers taped to the walls. I sent her a thoughtful gift, a good camera with a note, "For whatever you want to capture next. Love, Uncle Matt." She texted me a photo of herself holding it up, grinning. "Thank you. Mom said we shouldn't bother you, but I'm really glad you did anyway." I didn't answer that part. I just wrote back, "Can't wait to see the photos you take." Mom didn't post any angry statuses about me after that. She didn't post much at all. I noticed Linda liked nearly all my updates for a while, as if she was wordlessly standing in my corner. Rachel stayed distant. Short replies in the family group chat when I sent pictures of Owen's Lego monstrosities or Zoe's ballet recital. No real conversation. It hurt. Of course it did. But something else grew in the space where the guilt used to live. Breathing room. A few months later, Owen turned 7. We threw him a simple park party. Pizza, juice boxes, a soccer ball, a messy dinosaur cake. I invited Mom and Rachel. Mom wrote, "We'll see." Rachel didn't answer. On the day, kids ran in the sun, and one parent said, "Owen talks about you like you're a superhero." I laughed, but it stuck with me. My phone buzzed. "Sorry, not feeling up to the drive. Tell Owen Grandma loves him." The old twist hit my chest, but faded faster. I texted back, put my phone face down, and went back to the piñata rope. That night at the table, Jess asked how I felt. Sad, but not responsible, for once.
She called it grief for the mom I wished I had. I kept thinking about that. Being a good son used to mean emptying myself out. Now I think being a good father means showing my kids that love doesn't require you to bankrupt your future, and that when someone tells a one-sided story about you, you're allowed to calmly tell the rest. Mom and I still talk, but less. She hasn't asked for money in months. When she fishes with comments, I don't bite. Quietly, things are different. I stopped being the invisible line in her budget. I started directing my own story, and finally stopped paying in silence.